Mr. Ruben Cortes.
Hi. So, as you have heard a little bit, I belong to a big organization called Wild Asia. And recently we rebranded our project. Our project used to be Wild Asia Sustainable Building Initiative. We won the Entrepreneurs for Good award this year, and part of the money and part of the consulting, we use it to rebrand. So this is our new image built for tomorrow. But I'm gonna share a little bit with you some things that have influenced my life and the way I live my life. So at some point I had to study because of my major. I had to study a lot of philosophy. At the beginning I hated it because I didn't want to learn philosophy, but I was kind of forced to study and read a lot of philosophy. Sorry, like I said, I was not prepared. And one of the philosophers that I totally fell in love with, not just with what he was writing, because he actually never wrote anything, but one of his students wrote a lot. Exactly, thank you. Socrates. Some of you guys might know this picture is the death of Socrates. So Socrates was an amazing guy who believed that an unexamined life is not worth living. So what does that mean? It means for him, you have to question every single thing that you've been told or that you believe. Whatever it is, whether it's politics, religion, nation, the only way to find truth and therefore wisdom is by questioning. The idea of this picture is that he's telling his pupils, this is the best lesson I can teach you. This is the way you guys need to live your lives. Live your lives based on what you believe. And do not ever take anything that someone tells you for granted. Find the things that you believe on. I believe in truth and wisdom. And if that's the reason why they want to kill me, give me the poison because I'm ready to die. So this is living a life that matters. A little bit more in our times, another philosopher, another contemporary philosopher, Peter Singer, he is still alive. He says many things. One of them is how we ought to live our lives, including every single thing, every single decision you take every day. How you spend your money, at what time you wake up, what kind of food you eat, why, in the terms of food, what has made us as humans believe that we have the right to decide what happens to other species in this planet? Who has told us that we have the right to enslave other species and treat them like our possessions? Then why we every day spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars in things that we do not need when we know that there's organizations out there that could be saving lives of kids and adults with $1 a day? So he says we really have to think of every single thing, not just the things that we do every day, but the things that we do not do. We have to analyze our actions. We have to think about the consequences of every single thing we do in our lives. So, if you look at this beautiful planet where it's a beautiful, complex interrelationship of many different systems. And these amazing systems gave birth to, among many other species, us. So this does not belong to us. If you look at this beautiful picture, I don't see any borders in there. I don't see any divisions as religions. I don't see anything there. I just see a beautiful interaction of life. And that's what nature is. Everything else is man-made. The best species, at least on my eyes, that has adapted itself to that complex interrelation is a tree. Many of us just take trees for granted, but we have to understand if there's no plants, if there's no trees, there's no humans, there's no life in this planet. A tree, compared to us, does not need to move or go around to chase food or find energy or proteins or whatever. is a beautiful, perfectly adapted species. Taking energy from the sun, it produces no waste. What it produces is good for other species. It gives us fruits. It takes the energy from the sun, produces sugar out of that, which is good for us and many other species. And if nobody takes that fruit, it's going to fall down on the ground. Then the tree is going to release leaves. The leaves are going to cover that fruit. Then the water falls, and what happens there? You get compost. Compost is topsoil, highly nutritious topsoil. And that is not just good for the tree, it's good for any other trees around it. So it's a giving, taking, perfect balance where no waste is produced. Now, we say we are the Homo sapiens, we are the smart ones, we are the clever ones. But we are so far from that. We are the only species in this planet to produce garbage. Think about it. No other species in this planet produces something that no other species can use except for us. And we've been trashing this planet for years and years. And we are now everywhere. 7.3 billion of us and expanding. We have reached every corner of the planet, growing a little bit like a virus. It's not a joke. There's a way to measure the impact of humanity. Scientists call it the environmental footprint. The environmental footprint measures how much resources we need, how many acres of land we need to produce the rice that you eat, the cotton that requires to produce all the clothes that we wear, the amount of trees to filter all that carbon, all those carbon emissions that we're producing. And you can calculate it very precisely. So you can say, obviously depending on your consumption, your environmental footprint can be bigger. And therefore, depending on what country you're living, your environmental footprint can be bigger compared to other countries. This shows how humanity has been interacting with its planet. After the 70s is where we cross that border, which becomes very dangerous. If you look at this and think about it as a bank account, it's like, this is the money that you have on your bank account, the green area. So if you stay within that area, it's something like you are living out of your interest. So you're safe. You have a nice amount of capital, and you are living with your interest. When you cross that, when you are exactly in that point where you cross the border, you are spending exactly the same amount that you're making. When you pass that, you're spending the interest and you're taking the capital. This is what we're doing with our planet. After the 70s, we started consuming more than what our planet can provide. So we are being more humans, consuming more resources. But there's a problem in that. How many planet Earths do we have? Only one. At the levels that we consume today, we would need 1.5 planet Earths to provide us with that level of consumption that we today have around the world. The impact of that in other species, when we look at all the mammals and other species that have been registered by different organizations around the world, we don't know what happened before because the monitoring was only done after 1970. So what they have monitored is that after the 70s, we have lost 52% of the other species sharing the planet with us. That means our impact, you could say, we have killed half of the other species sharing this planet with us. Since we're in Malaysia, I want to talk about Malaysia. So in Malaysia, we don't only have a constant green line, it's actually going down. What does that mean? You see how the beautiful rainforest that used to be in Malaysia has been decreasing and decreasing and decreasing, while there's more people in Malaysia consuming more, having a second car, being in rooms that are air-conditioned 24/7, not at 24 degrees, but at 21. You go to your office, you wear a jacket, you wear a scarf. Why? There's no need for that. Scientists calculate that carbon is going to take longer to be assimilated by the planet than what do you call it? Nuclear waste. So this carbon, even if we stop today, our carbon emissions, it's gonna take centuries for that to be cleared by the planet. You guys know where this is? This is Malaysia. So this used to be a natural, beautiful, 30-million-year-old forest gone. Why? Palm oil, which is very profitable. Palm oil. This is Borneo. It's not different in peninsular Malaysia, but this is just an example. In the 1900s compared to 2010, more than 70% of the beautiful forest gone. It's never going to appear, never going to come back. And the way they do it, obviously, is cheaper, it's faster to just burn everything. That's where these things come from. The haze is man-made. People say, oh, look at the bad weather. That's not weather. That's man-made. Yeah. So how did we get to this point? There's three basic ways to see it if we want to put it in a summary. Number one, exponential growth. In simple terms, you got 2 humans reproducing, suddenly you got 4 humans, then you got 8 humans, then you got 16 humans, and this is what we've been doing for millions of years. So we're a lot of humans today. 7.3 billion, we are heading towards 10 billion, so we're gonna be a lot. And not only we are reproducing, we're consuming more and more and more. The second one, urbanization. Now we live in fancy cities, nicer conditioned spaces, so we say, global warming? Why? I'm freezing in my office. What are you talking about? Like the fish disappearing. I got my tuna can from the fancy supermarket. I don't know what you're talking about. So we forget where everything comes from, and number two, where everything goes to. Every time we throw garbage, every time we turn on the light, every time we turn on the air conditioning, we're polluting, polluting, polluting. And that has to go somewhere. Those carbon emissions go somewhere, the garbage goes somewhere. When you flush your toilet, it does not magically disappear. It goes somewhere. An increase in consumption. In the last 50 years, humanity has consumed more than all other humans in history. So the story, in the words of Tim Jackson, is we've been told to live our lives this way. We buy things we don't need with money we do not have to create impressions that do not last in people we don't care about. And this is what we are doing. The housing model follows exactly the same pattern. You got monkey arras with 23% occupancy rates, while you have people on the street without a house. The pictures I'm showing you now from Simran Gill, massive developments in Malaysia, completely abandoned, nothing there. Massive environmental footprint used by no one. Why they did this? Because they thought it was profitable. Then they said, it's not profitable, just leave it there. And that's what you have. This is all Malaysia. There's a guy, his name is Michael Reynolds. I have the privilege of knowing him. He was tired because he said, this is a global trend. We produce these useless boxes that you have to plug in water, energy, sewage. Otherwise, the box is completely useless. That thing we today call house. So he said, if we have the technology to send people to space in a very hostile environment and give them water, food, comfortable temperature, sewage treatment, if we can produce a spaceship, why don't we produce Earthships? Something that gives you in planet Earth everything that you need and with zero environmental impact. So Michael Reynolds designed a house that, number one, is affordable. It provides people with everything that they need, water, food, comfortable, stable temperature. It can be built anywhere in the world. There's no environmental impact. The sewage is treated on site. The energy is produced renewably. You produce your own food, so there's zero carbon footprint of sending your food from wherever else. And to build these houses, you use garbage. What you're looking at is an Earthship. It's a house made out of garbage and natural materials. It provides you comfort in any kind of weather, I don't have time to explain you, but we use what we call thermomass convection, which is take the hot air out of your house just by using nature and suck it in, cooling it down, cooling the air down, so you create a natural air conditioning system with zero energy. Orientation, something that Malaysians forgot for many years. Why did you build a massive building of glass with a massive wall facing east, facing west, and then you wonder why it's so damn hot? It's like, well, it doesn't require a rocket scientist, right? Renewable energy, I don't need to explain, we use solar panels, microhydro, wind energy, and so on. Water from the sky is there, it's free, it falls every day, and we complain about it. Just catch it. And people say like, oh, but rainwater is not drink. Sorry, where does your water come from? They're like, oh, well, from the reservoir. And where did it come from? But of course, there's sediments on your roof and stuff, so we actually filter the water. We use advanced sediment and bacteria filter, so you get the nicest, cleanest water for free for the rest of your life. We treat the water, we reuse water. Gray water is reused. You don't need to flush your poop with drinking water, do you? So you can use gray water for that. No time to explain you the system, but in a summary, we use water 4 times. And at the end, after being used to flush your poop, it's treated, and then it still feeds some more plants. Zero environmental impact of the sewage. Using plants, using natural methods. And since you need so many plants, why don't you grow your own food? So you have in your own kitchen your bananas, your figs, your pineapples, your kale, everything that you want. And the materials are garbage. A problem of society, tires. This is not Photoshop. The people there, look at the mountains of tires. So we use these tires, we take them, we pack them with dirt, and we build walls out of the tires. This is earthquake proof. We have built this in the Philippines. Typhoon proof. These kind of buildings save lives. Then you say, well, I don't want to live surrounded by tires. So we plaster them. We make them look pretty. We put nice plaster on top, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And this is how your house looks like. You don't see the tire. This is the Philippines again. We wanted to use glass, but they have so much plastic. Let's use that plastic. So aluminum cans. And there you go, typhoon-proof building for a community where, as far as of today, 88 people have used this building. No one needs to die anymore when there's a typhoon. This is in Taos, New Mexico, a whole bunch of garbage. And you can make it look nice and pretty. Like, I don't know you guys, but I wouldn't mind living in a house like this. This is a very temperature efficient house, perfect insulation. All you're looking at is garbage. So the lesson of this is we created this. We created economies, we created nations, we created politics, but we have to remember that if there's no ecology, everything that we consume comes from nature, and everything goes back to nature. If we only focus on economics and forget about nature, we're going to continue doing what we've been doing. And if there's no economy, if there's no nature, there's no humans. If there's no humans, there's no economy. So we have to think, those who in the 60s said, oh, that's hippie thinking, ecology is hippie thinking. Well, today, if we don't do that, we're going to kill ourselves. And that's what we're doing. I recommend you to read the book Requiem for a Species. It only does the math and basically concludes, it's too late. We're already dead. We have killed ourselves. This is, if we leave it to politicians, this is an amazing piece of art in Berlin by the Spanish artist Isaac Cordial. If we leave it to the politicians, they're going to start discussing global warming when we're all dead and underwater, right? So we have to do something. Don't leave it to someone else. Many of you have probably read this before. We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. So we need to start doing things thinking about tomorrow. We need to start building for tomorrow. And this is what I am inviting you tonight to join. We have started building the first Earthship in Malaysia, and we're taking volunteers. This is the progress so far. The coolest thing, at least for me, I just love it, we do not build for the community. We build with the community. So we don't give them things for free. We are teaching them how to build their own house. I don't believe in charity. I think charity is harmful. If you give people things for free, they just wait for you to come back. And if you go and build them a nice fancy house with steel and materials they cannot afford, they can only wait for you to come back. And if you don't go back, you are really not helping them. If you teach them with methods and materials they can afford how to do it themselves, that is sustainable. Thank you very much.